Carpe diem. Carpe diem.
welcome back. It's a brand new season of CGL.
This is just an absolute treat. These players are so damn good.
The talent on these teams is undeniable. Everybody on every team right now is making plays.
It's going to be an exciting start to the season, and it'll just get better from here on out.
We're about to step to a whole new era of Overwatch esports. So much exciting action is happening here on CGL that you do not want to miss.
Look who's starting it all off. It's Raven. No one necessarily figure out what is the right way to go just yet.
What a nice roll through from Peyton. It's just going to solidify everything from those.
Does come back, and Arsario gets the mech, but I don't need a mech. I'll kill 4 anyway.
This is just a highlight reel for Arsario right now.
They're making a statement in the EU Masters here.
This patch is still incredibly fresh. There's so much to learn, so much to change about the way we play the game.
NKT, but the shatter is colossal.
Let's get it going.
Trades keep coming through. Lores, you're going to be able to find these shots true.
Idu on the overclock with 2.
Here comes an athlete immediately goes back to fine skills, slicing and dicing their way through 2-3. So back and forth.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to CGL Season 15. We continue here in Week 3 in our NA Open Tier with an inter-org matchup here, Shadow. It is a matchup of the Agave teams, Foxtails and Otters. And you know what, Shadow? Though these teams may share a name, the numbers speak a little bit of difference between these teams right now.
Yeah, I mean, so far the Foxtails have 3-0'd both of their series, and the Otters have been 3-0'd in both of their series, with the only common opponent between the two being Retirement Home. So, you know, with it being an inter-org game, though, I have to imagine that these two teams have played each other a good bit already, you know, or even subbed in for each other a good bit, because that's just what happens when you're an inter-org team.
Yeah, and I mean, you speak to that, right? We had man, I can't remember who the team on the losing side was. I'm going to the CGL YouTube really quick. But last season during the console playoffs, we had an inter-org matchup at the very end of it, right? And it was Vicious Sharks. I think it was Vicious Sharks versus Vicious Control late in the NA console open bracket. And Vicious Control, like me and Mega were just like, yeah, they're generally considered, better team. They took a map off of Short Bus in that bracket. It ended up being maybe the worst game I've ever watched in my life, going the way of Vicious Sharks, in fact. So, you know, there is a very real chance that even if Otters has, you know, they've had the worst season so far, it's pretty hard to deny that. That competitive spirit where you're going up against some of your friends, right? Maybe that'll give a new light to Otters, and if it does, we could even see them start to snowball it.
I mean, it could even be something as simple as I know how to really irritate this one player, and if I can do that, it's going to throw the entire team off by me just doing that. Even if it's something as simple as just playing the heroes that they don't like to play against all the time. You know, you could do something that simple to throw people off their game.
Yeah, well, we are still, I believe, waiting for these teams to figure some stuff out. But while we wait, maybe we can talk about the map pool. Oh, okay, well then I guess we're ready. I was not informed of this, but yeah, first up, we'll get a look at the map pool like I was talking about. Ilios, Kings Row, Runasapi for the first 3 maps. Tiebreakers will be New Junk City, Shambali Monastery. You know, decent map pool for Dive, I think, with the exception. Actually, now that I look at it, it's like a pretty nice and mixed map pool, right? You can play whatever the hell you want on Runasapi. Ilios, very strong for that dive. Kings Row, you know, sneaky good for the dive as well. And, you know, Shambali and New Junk City, more favorable toward that rush poke composition. So I guess we will see. And, of course, Shadow, as you know, and as I'm letting everybody else know, perks still not enabled this week. Those will be coming to CGL in week 4, right before the midseason playoffs. So that should be exciting, but not something we're watching out for tonight.
Yeah, I mean, just with perks dropping in the middle of this week, some teams would have played with them and some teams without them if we had just dropped them in when they
Shadow
actually
dead?
got dropped in. So makes
I think Shadow
perfect
might be
sense.
dead.
It makes perfect sense to
Well,
have it that way.
And because Shadow's dead, I guess y'all will get the In the Fletch podcast here for the next bit of time. First up, Agave Otters going to be banning the first hero of the series. Of course, it is going to be on Ilios. And unfortunately, I don't have like a telestrator to draw on because that's a lot of fun to draw on these hero ban screens with the telestrator. So I'll just tell you what I'm thinking. Well, I guess the answer is going to be Wrecking Balls, so they don't want the hamster in this first map. Doesn't really change a whole lot. Winston, generally considered to be a stronger hero without the perks especially, so I expect to see Winston coming out here, and of course that means Foxtails cannot ban a tank coming into map number 1. Only a DPS or support hero. We are going to get a Tracer ban here for map number 1. So Foxtails wanting to shake the game up, a lot more impactful with that ban coming out here from the side of, Agave Foxtails.
Yeah, I mean, that definitely makes sense to me. If you want to just not have to deal with the dive composition, you can get rid of the Tracer, and that'll deny a lot of value, just not being able to play that hero. So I'm guessing the side of the Foxtails may not want to play the Winston dive with the Tracer. Maybe they want to go with the Echo instead. Obviously, you can't ban both, but I think you can still get plenty of value if you run like a Winston with an Echo and a Sojourn. I want to say I've seen that a decent bit, actually. But with that being said, Fletch just having a little bit of issues with hearing us right now, so we're just waiting on him to reconnect here, and we should be good to go in once we've got that figured out. But with that being said, now's as good a time as any to take a look at these two rosters that we're going to be seeing tonight between the Foxtails and the Otters. And all right, and it looks like for the side of the Foxtails, we're gonna have Scarlet Man on that tank with a Grammet and Kai IDK on the DPS line, with Pokey, Mini-Me, and El Rin on that support line. And then for the Agave Otters, we're going to have... drum roll, please. And there we go. We're going to have Aspect and Demo on that DPS line. Kind of starting to make sense why we're seeing a Tracer ban now. Both of them having Tracer as their favorite hero. That makes a lot of sense, actually. X Undine on that tank with OGP Navy SEALs and Severin on that support line. I'm not super familiar with either one of these teams, but with them being... with this being an inter-org matchup, I have to imagine it's going to be a pretty solid game.
Hello?
Fletch? Sounds
I'm
like
alive.
Fletch. Yeah, sounds as though Fletch has returned.
Sorry,
So-
I did not realize that it was me. I just started talking.
Yeah, I mean,
Couldn't hear anything.
it just kind of happened like after you had already heard me previously, so that was really strange.
Yeah, that was really weird. But I don't know what you're talking about. I do know what bands we've got, as you know.
Mhm.
I know exactly what bands we got. So can you catch me up to speed? You know what? It doesn't even matter. Yeah, that was strange. But we're back.
Mhm.
We're back. Somehow my Discord output changed. In the middle of you talking, or in the middle of me talking, I guess. But, yep, we are getting ready to head in here to Ilios, Shadow.
Yeah, and I mean, with it being Ilios, like I said before, the Winston compositions, the Diva compositions do tend to be really strong. But I've also seen a lot of teams playing Ramatra and Malga, but only in tiers that are not the open tier for some reason. And every tier that is not open tier, everybody's like, we're not going to play Hazard.
It's not. It's
So-
not for some reason. It's because the players in this tier are just generally more in line with each other. Dive's not an easy comp to run. We know that, Shadow. We know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I forced us to play Dive a lot back in the day, or at least try to, because of my inflexibility, and I feel like I caused us a lot of headache because of that. So we know how hard Dive can be, so it's not surprising to see the lower tiers opt out of Dive. But I'd be surprised if we saw anything other than like a Winston, especially on Ilios Lighthouse.
Mhm.
It would surprise me a whole lot. I think Wrecking Ball has also gotten strong recently. A lot of people have, started playing Wrecking Ball. I think that's
Mhm.
like, especially like right now, right this second, would be strong with perks. Obviously, we don't have those. So I guess we'll have to see what the options are going to be coming out here. It looks like Ilios well, if I am not mistaken. So, not as going to be as heavy on the dive, but will still be the choice for at least one of these teams.
That's definitely a Winston back there. I can tell that's a Winston, and I just swear I saw a double jump. Yep, that's a Genji. So it looks like Otters are going to be opting for this Hazard composition, and Foxtails are going to be running the Winston composition here. Okay, so I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to play out. With the dive, with the Winston, it's going to be hard to really find a target. You're probably just going to have to go on the Juno pretty consistently, more than anybody else here. Everybody else is pretty mobile.
All right, here we go. In here, ooh, he boink, almost thrown back into the well before that jump could come back, but now headed on to the one who did it. Severin will fall here. There is a trade, but with Hee Boink going absolutely bananas on this backline, it should be Foxtails coming out on top of this fight. The numbers continue to move towards them, and it will be Foxtails taking the first flip.
And yeah, just really systematic dives coming out there from Hee Boink. I mean, you could just tell already 40% on that ultimate charge with that Winston. And not to mention Grommet, if you're just hitting shots like that on Sojourn consistently, that is a huge help to getting these dive kills.
All right, and it goes Suita, and immediately dispatched by Maple. An excellent shot there. Dima got extremely low, but now we're getting ready to head in with this Hazard jump. Dima does end up falling here now as Undine has, is trying to find that Sojourn. And Grommet does a backflip there. You don't see the Muppets flipping around very often as Maple continues to rampage in this fight. Off to a very good start in this map. Need to get rid of these stragglers, and Otters will have it.
No. That is a tough spot to get caught right there. This Lucio of Pokemini-Me is just unkillable, apparently. Dima not able to get that kill either, and then going down.
Yeah, just getting absolutely folded there at the back end of the fight. And yeah, it was just Pokemini-Me.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, what is happening? I have a Quebin. What's happening, guys? Hee Boink just caught out so deep in the backline for no reason in particular. And there is the downpour from Undine. Unfortunately, not going to be fast enough to get in there to follow up on anything if there was anything held down. Now, Sound Barrier, Kitsune Rush out from Foxtails into this fight. Severin wanting to find a boop of their own will not land it just yet as Hee Boink and Soita going in here one more time. Second for Hee Boink, and that will be Foxtails taking well.
And I mean, what can I say about Foxtails other than they just knew exactly how to play that, even when they were getting players consistently poked out, like Hee Boink going a little too deep, Soita getting shot out a little bit early there by Maple a couple of times. They still would just keep 1 to 2 players alive, just bouncing around that point, not allowing it to flip. And then Otters even burning all those ultimates, Foxtails still come out and win the fight anyways. I mean, just kudos to Foxtails and just knowing how to position on that map and not giving up that percentage.
Excellent job by them. Yeah, not even budging. Nothing going to change here as we head into Ilios Ruins. Of course, Soita going to switch over. Well, yeah, it'll just be the Genji. Okay, so going towards more of a rush style here for Foxtails. Grommet opting onto the Widowmaker. This will be a really interesting matchup here.
Yeah, so we're seeing basically everything mirrored. Just oh no, wait, Grommet going on to the Widowmaker. That's a little bit of a difference, but we're seeing the Junker Queen as well coming from Hee Boink. So it's going to involve a lot of just more rushing than the dives you would see with the Hazard comp.
Yeah, very, very rush heavy. This Agave Foxtails composition. Soita looking for their mirror image, but Pokeminimi able to get the opening pick there on it to Navy Seals, and that will immediately force Otters out for this fight.
And yeah, it looks like Navy Seals is going to swap over to that Kiriko off of the Juno just to have a little bit more protection for themselves with the Suzu and the teleport capabilities. This Lucio of Pokeminimi has just been an absolute menace so far.
And Hee Boink just caught out again, way too aggressive on the front end of that fight. We've seen this happen, though, before for Agave Foxtails, but this time, Pokeminimi is going to fall here. That was a problem for Otters in the first round, so without that Lucio, Foxtails is going to have to bail.
Yeah, and I mean, again, it's smart retreat there from Foxtails. You lost 2 players. You may as well just reset before you try doing anything else here. And, I mean, going into this next fight, no ultimates really to speak of, so we're just going to be looking at another mostly neutral engagement. Maybe Severin gets to this sound barrier, but that's about it.
Wow, an excellent needle guard, or whatever it's called, I'm not really sure right now, but was an excellent one there by Undyne to help take down both the Lucio and the Hee Boink there, and it's just going to be this Widowmaker left.
And yeah, I got to be honest, I think Grommet probably needs to go to the Sojourn. Just hasn't been able to find as much value on the Widowmaker, and there's the swap. There's the swap, and I feel like this is going to be a much more even engagement, unless that happens, of course. What do I know?
Yeah. First pick, of course, they're going over to Undyne, able to take down Soita, and they're not really push their advantage here. They're going to, maybe look for something with this downpour, but that is an excellent wall there out by Undyne. The downpour comes in. Pokeminimi decapitated swiftly, and Otters, they're starting to come alive here.
Great use of their ultimates right there. You managed to get the orbital ray out of Foxtails, nothing else really, so they're going to have the barrier, the rampage, and the blade available. But if you're the Otters, you've got the sound barrier that's going to help you really, sustain through that rampage when your players get antied, and you also have Kiriko, so you have a couple of answers for what's about to come here.
And Pokeminimi just goes down so quickly again. The answer to this Dragon Blade is the sound barrier, and with Agave Otters being at 92%, and that's a decent rampage, but immediately cleansed by Navy Seals. The Lucio getting thrown around like a ragdoll, does get getting traded out. Hee Boink, posthumously able to bleed down Dima, but it won't be enough as Agave Otters able to move to parity here on Ilios.
And I mean, that map kind of shows you why people tend to play the Hazard over the Junker Queen. They do a lot of the same things, but the Hazard just has that insane survivability. He has an extra May wall that does damage to people, and his block also just damages people. So yeah, and we're gonna see here on map number 3 here, the Foxtail is going to opt to go back over to that dive comp, which I think is going to work a lot better on this point. Ruins is probably the only one where it doesn't really work all that well.
Right. Here we go. Last map here on Ilios. We'll see if Otters will be able to deal with this Winston adaptation once again. Pretty damn good map for it here. We head over to the cage now as Maple putting shots in, trying to find something with that dynamite. Not really much coming through. Some nice shots into the Lucio. Pokeminimi has to slide away, get out alive. Still under a lot of pressure, though, right now. Maple getting chased down. And even as Pokemini does go down, Soita has just decided that it's their turn to kill everybody. A 2-for-2 trade though, as Hee Boink does get cut down. Soita 100 HP right now as they look to try and find some of these late picks. The point maybe gonna go over here, but Foxtail's going to bail back, wait for their tank to come back, who has switched over to the Hazard as Severin able to knock Soita away, and as Otters get the flip there as well as the pick, it will be their win. Maybe?
Nice. Oh, that's a nice kill coming out from Hee Boink. That's definitely pushable. You don't have to deal with that Kiriko anymore.
Yeah, nice little deflect there from Dima, but will not keep them alive forever. Hee Boink has to climb the wall. The Violent Leap will not get them super far, but it does keep them alive. But the fight continues here on the point. Hee Boink with 86 HP trying to get that healing from their Lucio, but Undyne's Violent Leap is a little better than Hee Boink's there in the downpour to clean it all up.
That was kind of a cool interaction, watching the downpour just literally pull Hee Boink down off the map. I like that interaction. Not many ultimates coming up here for the side of the Otters. Well, their 2 support ults are just about online, as well as the same for the Foxtails, and here comes the Kitsune Rush.
Kitsune Rush, but it's in such a place that Otters can just choose to go away from it. So not going to worry too much about that, but once again, one of the tanks in this matchup just way too deep into enemy territory. Now, as Foxtails move to the objective, Maple's actually going to invest Bob, and that's a bit misguided if, maybe gets him a bit of extra percentage.
I mean, you're going to get, like, what, an extra 5% or so off of that, get your team up to about 80, 78. We're going to be at 78 here if you're the Otters. Luckily for them, that's the only ult that they burned, so they're going to have Blade, Kitsune, and Sound Barrier available for themselves. Pokemini probably just going to use this Sound Barrier of their own in this upcoming fight to try and deny some of this value.
Here we go. A few strong ults here as we see. Very close for Severin. Now Downpour coming out from Hee Boink, but just gets absolutely melted. Soita trying to find the picks into this Hazard and doesn't have much in the way of cooldowns right now. 8 HP. They can't get away. They try to bail to the Mega Health Pack, but nothing is available as it had just been used. Now Agave Otters take back over. They're across the 80 mark.
I love this Echo swap from Maple. It's just going to help to burn down that Hazard a lot quicker because it's so hard to kill Hazard with that block up. But now having this Focusing Beam is going to make that a lot easier. But that's a tough person to lose if you're the Otters.
All right, well, needed to keep that, but will return soon. There's the Dragon Blade, and unfortunately, Soita may or may not have dashed into a corner there. Seems that it's not affecting them too terribly much, though, as Agave Foxtails will win without their Genji in play.
There we go. You have to win the next, 2-3 fights now if you're the Foxtails. No ultimates available for them. It's looking like this Downpour and potentially Copy are going to be available in this next fight for the Otters, so you really want to take this next fight if you're the Otters. You might have 2 fights here, but ultimates are going to be built up by the Foxtails by the time you get to that last fight, so you want to win this next one.
All right, Maple going up and over. Needs to find something here. Able to stay alive. That is going to have to be good enough for now. The Downpour comes in. Able to... this Lucio just way too slippery now. Gonna go over to the Sojourn. Showed their propensity for the Sojourn on the first sub-map. Takes down Hee Boink. And Agave Otters going to win this fight. And with that, against their sister team, that's going to be their first map win of the season.
And I mean, that's going to be the first map win for them and the first map loss for the Foxtails this season. What a crazy turn of events, and honestly, great performance overall. It seemed like the Otters really started to get a feel for that Hazard comp in the last 2 maps, because the first map was just absolute domination from the Foxtails.
Yeah, start to finish, though, an excellent map overall. Very impressive. Agave were able to adapt and overcome. I mean, yeah, like you said, that Winston comp was oppressive on, didn't look as confident. I mean, there were a couple of times where like Hee Boink would just be in Narnia all alone,
Yeah.
and it worked out a couple of times for Foxtails on well because of their strong playmakers. But at some point, even if you think a team is not as good as you, a lot of times they'll be able to learn and adapt to the shenanigans, right? Because that's what that was. It was shenanigans. Foxtails were a little bit, I feel like, overconfident coming into this match and smacked in the mouth right off the rip. They cannot pull any more of that if they want to continue their undefeated streak here this season. I mean, their map win streak already over, so they need to pull it together. That would be, not a good look for them to just be lollygagging and lose a series.
And well, I mean, map number 2 is going to be the perfect place to go to if you really want to try and recover from a loss like that, because everybody's comfortable playing King's Row. So, yeah, that's going to be our map number 2, King's Row. So, I see no reason why you wouldn't just go with whatever comp you're comfortable with. Maybe we'll just see the hazards mirror each other again. I don't really mind. I think the hero's pretty fun to watch and play for that matter.
Kings Row coming up soon, but not before we get our bans. Of course, Agave Foxtails being on the losing end of map number 1, going to get their ban here first. Cannot be Tracer, cannot be Wrecking Ball. I mean, it's kind of hard to predict, what kind of bans we would be getting on Kings Row, because in general, it is a fairly flexible map. It can be dive if you want it to be dive, even if most people generally believe that it is a rush map. It has evolved to be like that over time. So it makes something like Kings Row hard to predict, because it doesn't have that singular identity like Ilios does. But we're getting pretty close to Foxtails' first ban. The next
I would
10
think
seconds or so.
I would think it's going to be Hazard. They seem to not really want to take the Hazard mirror, and the Otters were only playing Hazard. Yeah, there it is. It makes perfect sense.
Does indeed, but now Otters not going to be able to ban a tank. Curious what the option is here. I wouldn't be surprised. There's a couple of options I wouldn't be surprised with. Juno Kiri are always strong ban options. Sojourn here. I think Maple played very well on the Sojourn, but a couple of times just kind of got outpaced, right? Looked excellent on the Echo, especially, in that third submap. So seeing an Echo pick out of Otters, not a ban, not surprise me at all. As for DPS, it would either have to be a Sojourn pick to be impactful, and it is going to be a Kiri pick. So not going to have that Kitsune rush. Will more than likely be a Juno Lucio backline for either team.
Yeah, I'd have to imagine that's what we're going to end up seeing here. And I'm going to guess these teams are probably just going to brawl into each other. Maybe they run the Junker Queen composition. We saw that as well. Hazard is essentially just Junker Queen that can climb walls and jump really high. So you could still play the same comp that you played with the Hazard on the last map.
Yeah. Except this time there is going to be an option of having a Tracer on the field. Obviously, Hazard being gone makes Tracer a little bit more likely, because that Hazard comp doesn't tend to want to run with a Tracer. Genji Sojourn is usually the selection there for that DPS line with the Hazard, but not really knowing what tank is going to be selected. There could be a few. Obviously you got the Diva, the Reinhardt, the Ramatra. You could run the Junker Queen, some kind of rush comp. Winston could be any number of things, and most of those comps are well equipped to carry a Tracer, right? Tracer Sojourn, always going to be a very, very strong DPS line, no matter what meta we're in, right? So without the Hazard, I wouldn't be surprised to see the Tracer that we couldn't see on map 1.
No, I mean, most definitely. King's Row is, to me, is the best map in the game because of all the different play styles you can play on it and still be incredibly successful. So it would not surprise me to see something like that. I've seen a surprising amount of Malga as well, so I wouldn't be shocked to see the teams really invest into doing that. But it's really going to vary in what their flavor is. They could just handshake agree to play Reinhardt into each other as well, but nobody ever seems to want to do that for some odd reason.
I do think that's a little more likely, seeing as, this is an inter-org matchup. These players know each other. They've, like you said earlier, they probably scrimmed and played against each other constantly over the, past few weeks, past few months, however long these teams have been around. But that Reinhardt duel not going to be the pick. It is going to be a couple of rush comps. Right now, the only one guaranteed to come out is the Foxtails. And the Torbjorn is interesting, right? Because in higher levels of play, we've seen a lot of the builders, right? The Symmetras, the Torbjorns, just a bunch of micro buffs over time have created an environment where Torbjorn is able to find a little bit more success. Agave, that's probably going to be the comp that they come out with, but it'll be a Malga versus a Junker Queen here.
And yeah, it's going to be tough for the Malga to get a lot of value because it's a lot harder to consistently shoot this Junker Queen, because that's what you want to do on Malga. You want to just burn down a tank all game. And having a Junker Queen to shoot at isn't as useful for you as having another Malga to shoot at would be.
And a nice adaptation there by Otters. The supports walk back into spawn. It's going to be an Ana Juno backline for them as Navy Seals goes over the Ana for the anti, but immediately dispatched of Severin as Gromit walks in with that overload ready to go as watching the body fly.
Ooh, yeah, that was a nice shot there. As well as Dima playing that Sombra too, just to deal with that cage fight. I love that pick also. But now you're left with kind of this mismatch composition you're playing if you're Otters, and I'm not sure if your Junker Queen's going to be able to get in as quickly as you'd like without somebody going down in the process, just all this spam you're going into.
Well, turret gone, dealt with by the virus. And Hehe Boink able to bail back with that charge, but with Maple going down, that's a significant amount of damage gone for Agave. Now the commanding shout and anti place onto Hehe Boink, but able to bail back, stay alive, and it will be Foxtails holding on to the defense here.
No, and it's just going to be tough to really get a push here because you have all this spam damage coming in from this McCree, and there you go, nice shot.
So aggressive there with the Deadeye, and Soita does end up falling as we see Gromit slowly return. A nice little anti there onto Hehe Boink will mean their death, but that gun wasn't on screen when Gromit killed Maple there, and another great job by Foxtails to hold on.
And we are going to see Hehe Boink swap over to the Zarya here as well. So that's going to be an interesting look. I imagine they're just going to try and bubble off this Rampage maybe, but here in comes the Rampage shortly, I would have to imagine, from the Agave Otters.
You know what? I think it's just to deal with the antis. We're going to see the Rampage come out there, and yeah, antis, you can consider them dealt with, but this overclock is not. Maple trying to keep this alive all alone, but it's pretty steep odds there for Maple.
No, absolutely. Pokey-Mini-Me just popping off once again with that Lucio pick. And all those ultimates get used. The sound barrier isn't even forced out from Pokey-Mini-Me. You don't get a tick either if you're at the Otters. And the Foxtails appear to be upset about last map, and they are taking this one incredibly seriously right now.
All right, well, Dima into... Well, not really into the back line, but, headed towards the back line there on the Sombra. Going to throw that virus on to Gromit. They know where the Sombra's at, pretty hard to stay concealed when you're getting shot at there. Now only a minute left. The turret dealt with. EMP hits 4. Hehe Boink, the first casualty of that EMP, but the sound barrier only hits Pokey, Mini-Me, and Elrin, so they need these supports to go down. But with Soita falling, Maple can still keep this up. The turret only can do some damage if they are behind that car. Grommet below half HP now chasing after the Sombra. Nice little defensive boop there by Severin. But they need to get on this point. This fight has gone so long, but Otters is not on the point.
And I mean, that's tough right there, because now you're looking at this Deadeye. Oh.
Where did it go? Where did it go? The Deadeye not going to find a target there, but the trades will come through. It will be Grommet for Severin as the touch does.
You know, I don't know if that's technically a C9, but it feels
no,
like
it is.
is.
They had so much time to touch the point, Shadow.
It feels like it is. The Otters just being pressured so hard for this entire map, they just couldn't figure out how to get on point, really. You know, that's a tough way to go down. You should get at least one tick there. You basically won an entire fight if you're the Otters, but you never managed to get anyone on point to do any capture percentage.
You know what sucks is, like, I don't even agree. I don't think they ever won a fight.
Eh.
Like they had numbers at one point, but
Yeah.
because of their lack of aggression late in that fight, it allowed Foxtails to just come back. I mean, it's kind of what we saw early on Ilios, right? Is that even when Foxtails was going down very, very quickly, because I'll say it, Hee Boink was inting earlier in that, actually a few points in that Ilios, and even with, you know, Hee Boink falling a couple of times, not nearly as out of position this map, absolutely, but I mean, Foxtails are just doing a lot better at not getting punished and doing the punishing themselves.
I mean, I noticed quite a few times, anytime the Otters, so the first thing they would do, they would walk up and shoot Torb turret. In the amount of time it took them to kill the Torb turret, somebody on their team died. Like, every single time somebody on their team died. Like, it's impossible to push if you're just always down a player.
All right. In for the attack is Foxtails. Only need the tick here. Grommet able to keep track of where Dima is at. But Undyne needs to live. They are able to deal with the turret as Grommet just puts these rivets to use. Trade there, Soita for Dima. Not exactly what you want to see if you are Otters. Hee Boink using that bubble to cleanse the bleed damage. Walking in, doesn't have a whole lot in the charge department. Kind of trying to pinch this Junker Queen out here. Grommet getting super aggro, but the support is excellent, and Undyne just explodes. Shadow, do they have a touch? Shadow, okay, they have a touch,
Barely.
but it's unfortunately Severin, the only one there, too low, gets killed by the turret. I don't have much else to say other than Agave Foxtails definitely realize that they can't mess around, and they stop.
No, they definitely took that map incredibly seriously. Grommet in particular, I felt like, was doing so well on the Torbjorn that whole map. I'd be surprised if they even had like one death that whole time, because they were just consistently alive on that Torb, constantly throwing down a turret, just making the Otters have to deal with it. And like I said, them having to turn their attention away from the fight for a second and a half to kill that turret was usually resulting in somebody getting double headshot and dead instantly.
Yeah, it kind of feels like in that scenario, you don't have a whole lot of range with the players that they were running. You'd either need Maple to deal with that entirely on the Sojourn, or send your Lucio, who can deal with it at range as well, because there are other characters. I mean, Juno is not very good at shooting things if they're not directly in front of her.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, that's the right idea. Right? You want to get that turret out and you want to focus on something. Unfortunately, you generally like to be focusing on a person. Yeah. However, now Foxtails bring us to the third map, 1-1, taking this series seriously now as we get ready to head into our first break of the night. We will see what is going to happen when we come back. It's going to be New Junk City. No, it's going to be sort of
Runasapi.
Runasapi. That was the S in the word got me messed up. It's going to be Runasapi for map number 3, then New Junk City. Runasapi for map number 3. We will see who's going to take the lead once again in this series, so stick around. All right, welcome back, everybody. Agave Foxtails taking Kings Row. Move us to 1-1 here so far in our series here in CGL Season 15, Week 3. A little bit closer to what we expected out of this series on map number 2, unfortunately. Map number 1, very, very close in general. And with Agave Otters taking their first map of the season, but Foxtails came to play in map number 2, and now as we get ready to head into Runa Sapi, I guess we'll have to see if Otters can bring back that Ilios skill and luck,
I feel like it could be a hazard thing, perhaps, and if you're the Otters, you're going to be banning first here, so you need to think, okay, what do we need to protect? Because I think too many things were a problem for you last map for you to ban something that the Foxtails were doing very, very well. I think instead you need to think in the sense, how do we protect our hazard composition to the best of our abilities? What's the hero that we need? And in that case, I would almost think that they're going to go for a Juno ban or something to that effect to try and protect that support role so that you don't lose your Kiriko or your Lucio.
To be honest with you, I think it'd be insane if either of these teams, I was going to say something like that, just a throwaway DPS pick. Obviously, Torbjorn, not as much of a throwaway as he has been in the past, but, a throwaway DPS pick so you don't have to worry about the Sojourn or the Genji getting banned, because that really is the DPS line that you want to have when you are running that Hazard. Of course, Hazard can't be banned anymore. Was picked in that second map, of course. So now it is up to Foxtails. I think it would be insane if they went ahead and, banned Lucio or Juno for that matter. They obviously have a very, very happy-go-lucky and aggressive Lucio there on Foxtails. So, would be surprising, but Junker Queen going to be the pick. Bit of a nothing burger there for the selection here on Runa Sapi. The Torbjorn one picked out of necessity to protect that DPS line. So it looks like we are going to see a very bog standard hazard comp, at least out of Otters here on Runa Sapi.
And no surprises there. That's the comp they've looked the best on by far so far. So I would expect nothing different. And I'm curious if the Foxtails are going to mirror it or not. They seemed really hesitant to play the composition on Ilios, so that has me questioning if they're just going to walk out on it on Runa Sapi or not.
It feels like there's a couple of things that could happen on Runa Sapi. I think Hazard would probably be the best one. I think Hazard generally has a pretty good matchup into the Winston dive. You could run a Diva. Diva has some decent control of high ground. Pretty decent and consistent control, I should say. Very easy to maneuver up and down. Like I mentioned, the Winston going to be certainly an option. One of their better looks from map number 1 was on Winston for Foxtails. Would not be surprised to see him. Other than that, I mean, the next best thing would probably be like an Orisa or a Mauga.
Yeah.
And it will be Mauga coming out from Agave Foxtails, not opting for the Hazard.
Yeah, they just seem to not really care for the composition as a whole. And it looks like they're just going for all that up-close damage. They've got double speed available for their Mauga. I'm just hoping that the Juno Lucio is going to be enough healing to dump into the Mauga to let them out-sustain the Hazard. This Hazard's just so bulky with that block.
Gonna need that cardiac overdrive to be doing a lot of work here for Hee Boink. Runa Sapi, here we go, meet in the middle. 10 seconds until the objective unlocks. Soita looking for the Hazard as Undyne just explodes, walling themselves off of there. An unfortunate circumstance here for Otters as they're going to be forced back very swiftly.
No, absolutely. But nice shots coming out from Navy SEALs. It's not going to result in the cart moving any less, but you at least get the one pick on a character that's very, very slow to get back for the Foxtails.
Yeah, and that means that they can take this aggressive positioning. They are, of course, still waiting for one of their players to return. I believe that's going to be Maple back there. And man, Hee Boink got excessively low there, able to stay alive with the help of the wall there from Undyne. Not too worried yet, but Elrin definitely is a little bit worried about that significantly smaller health pool. And with Grommet following suit, and Maple with that vertical not going as high as you'd like, it will be Otters being able to get their cart pushing now.
Yeah, absolutely. You're happy to see that. I'm kind of surprised that the jump pad didn't just like activate still while the Sojourn was sliding like that. So that's an interesting interaction to say the very least. But Poke Mini-Me gonna have their ultimate online for this next fight, so there could be a sound barrier engage potentially happening here. But the Otters having a lot of ults available for this next fight as well.
Nice little aggression there from Undyne. That wall not going to mean very much. Putting a lot of damage into the back line there, and Hee Boink going to sidestep that downpour, but Soita will not be so lucky. No cleanse, no roll, cannot get away as the Kitsune Rush comes out. A nice little wall there, keeps Hee Boink alive, and even though there was a gap, way too small for Mauga to get through, and Otter's going to get very close to that checkpoint.
And yeah, Undyne seems to either be killing themselves with the wall or killing the entire enemy team with the wall placements on this hazard right now. That's definitely the ability I'm noticing the most, is getting either, like I said, the most value, or is getting Undyne trapped behind walls where they can't get healed. So either one is like crazy.
And now we see the Agave Foxtails adaptation. Maple breaking that wall, kept them in a corner. Gonna slide away, able to jump up, get some healing from their supports as Soita going to go down here. First Kitsune Rush called in from Elrin, but without, a traditional damage dealer here for Agave Foxtails, this is gonna be difficult.
No, absolutely. You're going to see all this healing come out. Severin, these Lucios have just been getting so many kills for both teams so far in this match.
There's a Reaper Death Blossom there, able to take down Severin. Does end up getting traded out. A little bit of speed, though, gone for the Otters here. And one of their, very, very strong ultimates here. And without Severin, they're just going to have to hold backward.
Yeah, you could just wait for Severin, and then, losing Dima is kind of tough, though. You might want to full-on retreat with this.
Just die on cart would probably be the best play there at that point. But the rest will actually get away, so, pretty good escape plan there for Otters.
Yeah, sacrifice the hazard, everybody else gets out. And now Otters going to have 4 ultimates online, everything but that overclock. So Poke Mini-Me's sound barrier is going to be very, very crucial here for the Foxtails.
And they're already down a man. Kitsune Rush called in as Maple goes down, but the kills continue to roll through as the Dragon Blade and Undyne cutting down everything in their path, and will be Otters quite easily taking that fight.
Yeah, and you burn the Kitsune and the Blade, but nothing else, so you managed to hold on to this downpour and sound barrier, and you're going to have the overclock online for this next fight. Foxtail's going to have their Blade available as well, but you have the sound barrier still if you're the Otters to help you deal with that ultimate.
Well, here's the Dragon Blade, and that's an Ajax. Oof. That is an Ajax from Severin, and there will be a downpour called in, and that's a couple of good trades. You're not happy about that Ajax from Severin, as Poke Mini-Me used sound barrier there. Guys, stop pressing Q, please.
And yet somehow the Otters still take that, even with the certified CGL Ajax happening right there. It still goes the Otters' way. They seem to just be way more comfortable on this hazard comp. They know the push and pull, when to use their ultimates, and Maple just continuously getting picks on this Sojourn.
Yeah, feeling in the swing of things finally there for the Otters, back on top of the gameplay. 120 meters. They push right past. looking for some way to engage. The answer will be Kitsune Rush, and it is an excellent kite on it by the Agave Otters. The Kitsune Rush called in from the other side, but Undyne is just dead instantly. They're trying to find something, maybe stall this card out for a little while, but the picks are coming through, and they're just going to fall over here, as it will be back in the hands of Foxtails.
Oh, and you have to make an insane comeback here if you're Foxtails. You have 4 minutes to do it, but 130.61 meters gained for the Otters. You need to win probably about 4 fights in a row, maybe, and that's pushing it still. And all you got the overclock available if you're Grommet, but that's about it.
All right. Here we go, staring down the barrel of an overclock right now, as well as the Dragon Blade, but Blanc needs to live here, and that block cannot last forever. Able to get around the corner as the overclock is called in by Grommet. Gonna look for it. Nothing really gonna come out of the overclock, except some damage onto Undyne, but it will be a fight win, and that'll get Foxtails to the checkpoint.
That's exactly what you needed to do there if you're Foxtails. You only burnt that overclock, and now you've built up to your downpour. You've got the blade, and you're basically at the sound barrier and the Kitsune Rush as well. This next fight's going to be really key because both teams are going to have ultimates. You need to win this ultimate exchange out if you're the Foxtails.
All right. Closing in on that 2.5 minute mark. Downpour called down from either side. Sound barrier is the answer from Pokeminimi, and Severin not going to have theirs online in time. Going to be very close as Soita is, got this Dragon Blade ready to go. So Severin ready to block that one. Now the overclock coming in from Maple. The answer is the Kitsune Rush. From both sides, sound barrier called in from Severin. So Soita's Dragon Blade not going to find much as Dima goes in with one of their own. No final blows, but it will be a lot of damage, and Otters will take back over, keeping that lead.
That was so close for the Foxtails. They almost took that fight, and then we would have been getting really close to matching that meterage before the next fight occurred. Now you're back here at the midpoint, and you have to win, again, a couple of fights in a row to make this more contestable if you're the Foxtails, and you have no ultimates.
Can't have that, though, for the Otters. Dima falling over very, very quickly there. Soita dashing through their mirror image. Undyne, like I said earlier, that block does not last forever. And Undyne just learned that tragic fact. So now it's just die on the cart, stall as much time as possible as we head under 90.
And here we go. Gonna get this push forward, maybe get a meter or two before the fight actually starts to happen here. And really all you've got is the downpour. Everything else needs to be built up if you're the Foxtails, but there's nothing available for the Otters, so that is gonna be your one advantage here.
Need something with that downpour for sure. Boink still, not quite there, but basically there. As Undyne is also right now getting very close to one of their own. Undyne trapped, locked to the floor. Going to be coming back with their own downpour, but Boink needs to live if they want to have a chance at winning out here on Runa Sapi. Undyne going to return soon.
And here we go. This is the big fight. You got double support ults if you're the Agave Foxtails, as well as the overclock. You want to see this used smartly.
Crossing roads here from either side. 30 seconds on the clock. Grommet trying to find something with his overclock, but nothing. There goes Severin, popped like a bubble. Grommet does get traded in Maple, popping the overclock of their own, hitting the skybox, but the trades continue to roll through here. Hiding behind the taxi is Boink, but all alone. Not really much in the way of healing out here from Agave Foxtails, but the Dragon Blade is massive from Soita, and Severin just too little too late, but the lead has not gone over to Foxtails. Boink brutally low. They need to kill this hazard here as fast as humanly possible, but the reinforcements have arrived. Dragon Blade pulled. No sound barrier, no cleanse, but Dima goes down! There is a trade, but the numbers is still favoring Foxtails. They need to get rid of these players. Maple on the Reaper, looking for something, anything, but it's all blue in the kill feed, and Agave Foxtails able to weather the storm on Runasapi. They're on match point.
Ooh, that was 130 to what was it, 25
like
meters
25 or
maybe?
something, yeah.
Like it was absurd. The Foxtails managed to pull that map completely out of the mud, showing that they are indeed able to play this Hazard comp. They just didn't want to. That has to be my assumption at this point. They just didn't want to play Hazard, but they're like, hey, we can do that too. We're good at that composition as well. We know how to play all these heroes. So, yeah, just again, really close map though. To be fair, the Otters could have won that at some point. It was just the Foxtails kept getting those picks exactly when they needed them. Like as soon as I believe it was Demo went down with that blade. That was probably the moment that it was like, okay, you got nothing else to win this fight out now.
Yeah, there was nothing to respond to that blade. They had used the cleanse. They were like 49% to the beat. Just a tragic time to go down there for Dima, of course. You can't blame everything on that one kill, and that's not what we're saying, right? There was a lot of things that kind of snowballed into that loss for Otters, right? But ultimately, what it came down to is Foxtails had the clutch gene and Otters didn't, right? They had spawn advantage, they had ult advantage late in that fight. They just could not get it done. Playmakers for Foxtails going to make plays, and they did. So now, as we head into map number 4, Agave Foxtails, they're on match point. It's going to be New Junk City. I feel like this, we're probably going to see the Hazard still coming out for Otters. What I'm curious about is, what does Foxtails do? Because, they don't want to play the Hazard, but they're willing to play the Hazard. So, it's kind of a big question mark as we head into New Junk City.
Yeah, and I believe the Foxtails already banned out like the Kiriko, which I mean they also have a good Kiriko, so it's a tough ask, because do you want to ban like the Genji or something to that effect? But the Otters might just do a DPS protect again like they did last round as well. So that's, I don't know, the banning becomes really interesting here getting into maps 4 and 5.
Could not agree more. Gonna get ready to do that. Of course, Otters having lost map number 2. I know that these teams have a couple of... It's very hard to tell which is which. The differences in those logos, minimal to say the least. I don't know if y'all could see that, but it's just the tails that are different. Otters gonna ban first here. Curious what they come out with. I don't know. Maybe it's just another throwaway DPS ban that would be the best for them because they do look very competent on that Hazard comp.
Yeah, I mean that seems like probably the best thing you can do here because I believe they've already banned the Kiriko out, which I mean they wouldn't want to do that anyways. So you probably just ban like I don't know, something off the wall like a Cassidy or a Reaper or just something that you're not going to play, but that you've seen the side of the Foxtails play already. Yeah,
I mean, it's gonna be Malga, which not what I exactly expected, but I see where they're coming from. Foxtails has played a little bit of that Malga throughout the series thus far. We've seen a couple of looks from them, like the Winston, of course, the Hazard that we saw on the last map. Malga, obviously. But now it's up to Foxtails. What are they going to do? Because I also heavily doubt that they want to ban Sojourner Genji, because they look good on both of those heroes as well. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a throwaway pick on, either of those remaining. Wow.
All right, so they're gonna ban out the Sojourner.
I'll eat the words, I suppose.
I wonder if we're just gonna see them come out on Torb instead of Sojourn. Is that the play here? We're just gonna see Torb again.
That's not a bad shout at all. I mean, we've seen them play it already. We've seen them have success on it already. Yeah, that's very, very interesting. I would not have expected them to go with the Sojourn ban.
No, I mean, I guess they probably want to just play like a more brawly style comp from what I've seen of them. And if if the Otters are going to be playing a hit scan character, now it's a character that's not nearly as mobile as a Sojourn, so you can deal with it significantly easier. And if you feel like you can win that exchange, say for instance they're wanting to just play Cass into it or whatever, then that definitely does make sense because it makes it a lot easier for your tank player to deal with it as well because they don't have to like fly all around the map just to try and get one kill into a Sojourn.
And, you know, if we dive a little deeper into that idea, there's a couple of options that we've seen come out of Maple. In general, this series, obviously, for the most part, it's been the Sojourn. That's not on the table. The other two heroes we've seen, Echo and Ashe. If they want to run a hit scan, I think it's going to be Ashe. I think Cassidy's probably a better pick I think Cassidy's a bit of a better pick in general for the, you know, pretty close quarters combat that is, you know, more prevalent on New Junk City. There's not as many super long sight lines for Ashe to take heavy advantage of. But what I really think is an excellent option for them is the Echo. I think the Echo did a very, very good job at melting Boink, at melting the Genji, right? It you know, it's going to be interesting, but doesn't look like either of those. It's actually they're going to hover the Genji Venture comp for Otters. And like you said, yeah, Grommet going to be on that Torbjorn here early.
Yeah, I mean, that makes total sense to me. That's what they were absolutely dominating on that Torb pick on King's Row. So I definitely get that. Dima, I think, is going to have a difficult time getting kills with this Venture. There's not really good targets to really hit that burrow on, and that's usually how you can get a lot of damage with the Venture.
Yep, very interesting comp coming in from Otters without that Sojourn in play, but Maple getting taken very low very quick as Undyne is already in the enemy backline here very, very quickly. Yeah, got taken out of 1 HP and explodes in the end. Dima does end up taking down Grommet with that explosion damage, but won't mean much for the Otters here as Foxtails move to the point.
It's going to be a little bit of a contest there from Severin, but they do eventually go down. And it really just feels like the Otters are really comfortable on the standard hazard comp, but they haven't looked nearly as comfortable on anything outside of just the point-blank standard hazard comp.
All right, here we go, Hee Boink. Headed down to the low ground, not going to hit very much with that violent leap. As Grommet has that overload ready to go, drilled to the ground, Soita taken down, but it's not a trade that you want to see as Undyne is the fallen here for Agave Otters. You see Dima wants to go in here, gets a little bit of that overhealth, pops out. Now jumped on by Hee Boink, and with Severin getting walled off there, this is going to be a very hard fight, and this may very well even be the entire point for Foxtails.
Yeah, Dima going down late there is tough. You're going to have to, if you're going to touch this as the Otters, you're going to have to touch it with 4 players because, you know, your Venture probably won't get there directly in time to impact this fight.
I mean, Maple is pretty well alone here up in the front line. There will be a touch in from Undyne, and it'll be Undyne and Dima that actually do get the touch, but it's only Undyne and Dima. And Dima's getting some work done, but without any cooldowns, Venture is very hard to get a lot of value out of, so it will be Foxtails taking the arena.
And it only costs you your downpour. You've got the other 4 ultimates available to you if you're the Foxtails, with the Otters getting close on all 5 of their ultimates, but mainly just the DPS and support ults right now. The downpour a little bit further behind. So this next engagement is probably going to entail a lot of ultimates.
Turret dealt with for Grommet as we see the yeah, that's an Orbital Ray and a Dragon Blade. You know, just a tad shy of the Nano Blade, a little bit hard to deal with, and yeah, Otters learned that there.
And no time for the Otters to even think about popping an ultimate into that. So they still have all 5 of theirs available to them. They could do the exact same thing, come in with an orbital ray and a blade of their own. But, you know, Pokemini having that sound barrier available is very, very key.
Here's the Dragon Blade, but just way too far forward for Maple. An unfortunate circumstance here for Otters. They take down Hee Hee Boink, and they're going to try and hit the point with this orbital ray, but, I mean, you're just taking passive damage with that Molten Core on the point, and it will be a Pokemini-Me, you know, getting a little bit of that DPSing done. And it will be Foxtails holding on even as, you know, Soita does end up falling here.
Maple does get the 1 kill like you mentioned, but still, there's just too much sustain available on point for the Foxtails right now. And, like, now if you're the Otters, you have the Tectonic Shock available to you if you're Dima, but that's it.
Here's the Tectonic Shock, and it's just another ultimate that goes right down the drain. Soita does end up getting traded out, but they need something else here. 1 kill will not be enough into this Foxtails team. Grommet is ending up going down there, needs some help breaking that turret. Has to waste the block there, but they will be able to stay alive, and they do get the kill onto Hee Hee Boink during the cast of the Downpour. So very, very big fight win there for Otters.
I mean, Undyne did have to use the block on the turret, like you mentioned, but it ends up winning the fight for them in the end. And now you've got the orbital ray, you got the downpour, and you absolutely have the Deadeye available to you as well. If you're the Otters, Foxtails, we're probably going to see dueling orbital rays going into this fight, but I imagine Maple's going to pop that Deadeye right behind it to force them to not really be able to use that orbital ray like they would want to.
Here is aforementioned orbital ray down from either side, and Grommet will be able to trap Severin with that turret for the Torbjorn here. Needs something else. Grommet does end up falling, so Playmaker gone for Agave Foxtails, and it will just have to be a bail for the 2 remaining players.
And yeah, like I said, a good amount of value coming out from that Deadeye there. It just really forces you to not be able to get that value you wanted to out of the orbital ray. But it does look like the engage is happening here as well.
There's the Dragon Blade from Soita. Does end up falling, but an excellent trade by Grommet, continuing to put screws to skulls there. Dima falls. Need another kill here for Otters if they want to be able to move to parity here on this point. Good job stalling out this overtime for Foxtails, and a lot of damage being put into these stragglers for Agave Otters. They needed the sound barrier just a second earlier, and it will be Foxtails moving to both map and match point here.
Oof. And here comes out that echo you were mentioning from Maple. I like that pick here. Could potentially help burn down Hee Hee Boink a lot faster, as well as the Genji of Suida. But losing that sound barrier from Severin is going to be tough, because you have to deal with this downpour now, and you don't have the Kiriko anymore to just really deny that ultimate like you did on the last few maps. So this could be big.
All right. 1 more point separates Foxtails from an undefeated record, and Undyne is separated by a wall. Nice little bit of symmetry there. Hee Hee Boink going in onto the Echo, getting burned down rather quickly, but nice timing on that spike wall, and we'll be able to live and weather that, as will be Foxtails taking the first flip here on the duct.
And doesn't cost them any ults either, so you're really happy to see that if you're the Foxtails. You're coming up on 4 ultimates. Soita pretty close on that blade as well. It's going to be tough for the Otters, because the Venture ultimate, the Tectonic Shock, is just so hard to get any kills with. I just can't see it happening.
Well, here's Orbital Ray and Downpour from both sides. Sound Barrier from Pokemini-Me. Going to keep Foxtails above the waterline, but Grommet just walking in, holding down M1, and Dima going to have to bury themselves into the ground, but it will be enough to keep this fight alive for Otters. Going to be able to get the flip here.
Yeah, great fight win for the Otters, staying alive some more on this map. Foxtails are going to have both of their DPS ultimates online, as well as the Otters. So Vayron getting close on this sound barrier as well, so that you really want to have that built up before this blade comes out from Suida to try and deny that value.
All right. Need another fight and a half or so for Agave Foxtails turret dealt with swiftly. So not going to need to focus on that during the fight. There's the Dragon Blade. That dash going to be so annoying for Navy SEALs. Just absolutely hawked down by Soita, the duplicate from Maple. Going to need a big, needed a big downpour there as the turret continues to work for Gromit. Absolutely finding all the value in the world on this character is Gromit, and Otters took the lead there, but Foxtails going to take it back here very, very soon.
And this is coming up on last fight territory. Not really anything to speak of in terms of ultimates for either side. Elrin going to be the closest, 64%, as well as Hee Boink, 65% on their ult, but that's really it. So we're looking at most likely a dry fight here for the last fight.
All right, needed to get the touch in here for Foxtails. They will get it. That wall, what a wall by Boink! Jumped in, jumped back, and walled down the Lucio, and Agave Foxtails start off slow on Ilios, but pick up light speed there. Going to be able to win the next 3 maps very, very easily. Gonna get their 3rd win of the season to stay undefeated.
Yeah, and I mean, once they truly decided to play the hazard composition, they looked absolutely dominant on that as well. It just, I guess for some reason, they just didn't want to play that comp. And I got to shout out Gromit too on that Torb. That's some of the best Torb plays I've seen in quite a while. They were just constantly landing those shots and getting those kills with that turret.
I mean, excellent play all around there for Agave Foxtails. Start, well, maybe not start to finish, but map 3 to finish. The gentleman's sweep, right? You know, lose that first map, win the next 3. But yeah, that was definitely more akin to what I expected out of this series. Having said that, hey, Otters, you've got stuff to work on, obviously, but of course, there's also a lot to be happy about, right? You got your first map win of the season. You got to win 1 map before you can win a series, right? So you can't be too angry here, right? And a couple of those maps were very, very close, especially on Runasapi, right? You get the win on Ilios. Runasapi was very, very close. If you do a couple of things different, right, that map is yours. You know, a couple of things to look at in the VODs, you know, learn from, adapt, overcome, and, you know, they're not there yet, but the things that I have seen out of Otters, I think they can be a pretty good team.
No, absolutely. There's definitely some positives to take from here, and I mean, one of the teams that Otters lost too early was Nightmare Rotation. So I mean, that's just an
draw.
Yeah, that's an unlucky week 1. You know what I mean? So, and then you're going against one of probably the better teams in your org from what we've seen so far. So, you know, luck of the draw. They'll come up on a game here soon enough where they'll be able to compete a lot better. And I mean, they were really competitive in this game as well. This could have easily been a 5-mapper for sure. Like you were saying, Runasapi was incredibly winnable for the Otters. So that's probably one you would really want to focus on more than the others, just to say like, okay, how can we replicate this across all of our maps? Because even though you lost it, that was still probably their best performance, I would say, outside of Ilios.
Yeah. So now we will get ready to head to a quick break. When we come back, we will have an interview for Agave Foxtails. Get the better of this inter-org matchup. So stick around for that. We will get to hear what they are thinking about this matchup headed into week 4 and the mid-season.
Water is the softest and most yielding substance, yet nothing is better than water for overcoming the hard and rigid, because nothing can compete with it. Lao Tzu.
Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave. Name straight, new wave.
Just make it go fast, Shadow. All right, welcome back, everybody. We've got Gromit here to talk to us about this series. The Lord of Torbjorn. Gromit, y'all get the win over y'all's cousin team here tonight. How y'all feeling?
We were sweating a little bit towards the end, or at the beginning, after the first map.
Mhm.
Otters is actually the child team of Agave Foxtails, and I'm the coach of Agave Otters. And it was quite stressful to lose that first map.
No, most definitely. So that's going to be my first question, actually. What do you think went wrong on that first map? Because it just looked so vastly different the rest of the series compared to that first map.
Foxtails has been scrimming specifically with perks, and we have not played hazard meta since the perks came in. So, Hee Boink, my tank, usually is on Queen or Ball or Mauga during this current meta with perks.
Mhm.
And we did not come super prepared for the hazard meta again.
Oh, I see. I see. That was actually going to be my next question is why were you so hesitant to play the hazard composition? Because it seemed like you all were really, really good at it when you did play it. But then
It's just kind of
that-
boring.
Yeah, okay. I get you.
All right,
Also-
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Also, my tank doesn't. His worst character is Hazard. So we try to stray from that when possible,
Hmm.
just to get him on better, like, characters that he is much better at.
Okay, so my question is, are y'all ever gonna get Boink to stop inting?
No,
Okay, you know what?
we will be
expected
inting
that to-
harder with him next time.
No, you know what? I expected that to be the answer. That was the answer I was hoping for. But yeah, that was just what I expected. But yeah, for us though, that's gonna be really all we've got. Gromit, before we send you away, is there anything else you'd like to bring up that maybe we didn't, or a shout outs you'd like to make?
Shout out to Otters for making us sweat. They've improved as a team a lot, and I'm actually really proud of them, even though I was playing against them today.
All right, Gromit. Well, congratulations on y'all staying undefeated. Looking forward to seeing y'all headed into that mid-season tournament.
Right, thank you for having me.
All right, Shadow. A 3-1 scoreline here for Agave Foxtails. Getting the better of their child, I guess.
Yeah.
You know what? Sometimes the child can step to the parent, and Otters made it look pretty close at points here in this series.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely looked like they had been, as Gromit was saying, improving from their other match score lines. And, I would definitely be looking forward to seeing what Otters can do the rest of the season if they can start to recover from this. Because 0-3 is a tough hole to crawl out of, but they've played relatively well against some pretty decent teams so far.
Yeah, you know what? No matter who you are, where you are in, CGL, a 3-0 record, never something that should be taken lightly. As for Otters, hey, you heard Gromit say it. They've made strides. They are looking better. Still looking for their first win, however, did find that first map win. So, Otters, they're on the up and up. If you want to buy the stocks right now would be an excellent time to do it. But, that is not a thing to do right now. Shadow, we're getting ready to head off here. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we head out?
I would just say keep your notifications turned on. Keep an eye out for all these games that we're going to be casting because we're going to have something coming out on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So just keep your eyes peeled for both EU and NA games to be streamed.
All right, indeed. Still a lot of Overwatch to be played here in Season 15. Thank you all for watching, and we will see y'all tomorrow afternoon with some EU action.
Cash and the ticket is yours.